How's it going? Right, in today's video, I'm going to change the camshaft sensor. Now, the original is a Bosch one, and like many of the parts for these cars, if you do a little bit of digging and you get the part numbers, you can actually find the exact same part for cheaper elsewhere. Now, when I rang Audi, or VW actually, for this part, it was around about, I think it was like £140 or something for the camshaft sensor. Now, if I show you this one, the new one, came in a proper Bosch box, and it's actually had the Audi part number machined off it. So you're getting the genuine part really, but you're getting it at a fraction of the cost. So £45 that was. And for the effort that it takes to change it, for me, it's not because it needs changing really, it's just £45, a little bit of time, and it's just another thing ticked off that's done. So I'm going to set the camera up on a time lapse. I'm going to disconnect the battery first because I don't want to throw any codes on the ECU, and it should be pretty straightforward if I can get the cam belt cover off. That's a little bit fiddly, but other than that, it should be okay. As far as I'm aware, the bolts that secure it into the head are 10 Newton meters and a plug, and that's it. So it shouldn't be too bad. I'll put a link in the description to where you can get the part from. So if you want to go there and buy the same part, if you need to change it. Some of the symptoms you might have is a little bit of a struggle to get it to start. It's obviously going to affect your timing somewhat. When I've done a little bit of a search for symptoms, they're not drastic. I don't think it'll stop the car from running like a crank sensor or impulse sender as it's called will do. I've already changed that. That's at the bottom of the block. I don't have a video for that one, unfortunately, but that one will stop the car from starting. This one, as far as I can tell, it won't. So anyway, I'll set the camera up and shut up and get on with it, and we'll see how long it takes me. Shouldn't be too bad. If anyone's wondering what I'm doing here on the negative of the battery, I have a permanent C-Tech trickle charger connected onto the negative terminal, so I'm just trying to loosen that first so I can actually get to the nut to loosen the negative terminal. Okay, right, so I've took the charge pipe off here. There's 7mm on a Jubilee clip there. There's one on that red boost hose there, and these ones here going to the N75 and the diverter valve. So if you undo those, and then the two clamps with the 13mm, there's one there and one here, you can then get to this cam cover. So I'm going to have a go at taking this off now. I've heard that you can have a little bit of a fight with this one, so I'll set the camera back up and you can watch me fight with that for a little bit. So at this point what I've done is I've slowed the video back down to the original speed just to highlight how cautious you need to be when you take the two 10mm bolts out of the camshaft sensor. You can see me pulling out the last one there, and I've got hold of the camshaft sensor with my left hand, and I'm going to carefully pull it away to the left of the cylinder head and around the end of the camshaft where it protrudes into the camshaft sensor, and pull it out. Right, there's the two sensors. You can see they're exactly the same. On the inside, then the old one, to be fair, looks absolutely fine. But like I said earlier, you know, it's just one less thing that could fail from old age and use, so it's worth changing. Gets a little bit leery mind when you're undoing those two 10mm. I've decided not to take the cover off because it's getting trapped down here, and I'm sure maybe with a little bit more wiggling, but I really don't want to smash it. So I'm just taking it easy. You might know a better way than me to get that out, and I'm sure with a little bit of patience it will come eventually, but I don't know. This plastic feels quite brittle, so I'm going to try and get it on without taking the cover off. I might have to resort to taking it off, to be honest, but those bolts were not very tight, so nipping them up by hand should be absolutely fine. At this point you can see that I'm connecting the loom to the new camshaft sensor and then feeding the camshaft sensor behind the cam belt cover and around the end of the camshaft where there are some small fins or blades that spin around the housing of the inside of the camshaft sensor. Now you can fit it and then try and fit the loom, and I did that initially, but I didn't feel confident that the loom was clicking into place, so I took it back off again and then refitted it. It also serves the purpose that if you were to drop it, then the loom will hold onto the camshaft sensor. Once the camshaft sensor is seated in the correct position, and you can't go wrong really, you can feel as it sits in the right position. This is where you need to be extremely careful when you start putting the 10mm bolts back in. If you were to drop them, you may give yourself a bit of a headache. So if you're concerned or you're worried that you might not be able to feed these in, or you're not used to working in constricted places like this when working on cars, maybe consider not doing this. Okay, right, so I did end up leaving that on, as you'll have seen. It just wasn't worth the risk to me, smashing that and cracking that when you could just about get in. The only downside for me is that you can't get the torque wrench in just to nip it up to 10mm, but it's only 10mm. If you just finger tighten them and then just nip them up tight without swinging on them, they'll be absolutely fine. Right, other than covers, that's all on now. So what I've actually done is I managed to find a couple of these that are in better condition than the ones I had. The paint chips really easy round there. Now you might not be bothered, but I wanted to find some better ones, so that's why you might have seen me taking 2 of those away, the older ones. So these are a little bit better. They're actually obsolete now, so if you've got a set of good ones, look after them. But yeah, so that's all on. The clamps are all on. Clamps on here are on the 2 13mm there, and then there's a 7mm Jubilee clip at the back there for that red hose. And that should be it. Cam cover is all, camshaft, cam belt cover, sorry, is all on. The plug's on. So I'm going to put the covers back on, connect the battery, and we'll do a start and see if it's all right. Should be. Right, we're going to go for a start up, and fingers crossed, should be all right, and we'll see what it sounds like. Hopefully it's fine. Yeah, well, I'm happy with that. That's really good. Not a particularly difficult job. A little bit fiddly. You've got to be mega careful you don't drop those 2 little 10mm bolts down the cam belt, mind. Really careful. So if you've got a little bit of a shaky hand, I wouldn't do it. But yeah, so that's that. I'll put a link in the description to where the part's from, and if you like the video, maybe subscribe or like it. Comment if you've got any thoughts on if I've done it wrong, or if you think it's a good idea, or whatever. Right, okay, thanks very much for watching.